Hey everyone, welcome back to AI Insights. It's season 3, and we're back with a new episode. We're today with a renowned guest, Matthew Kilbane.
Thank you so much. I hope well renowned, yes.
Yeah, you were on season 2 as well, so that was really awesome. So I'm so happy for you to be back on the show. And you worked on something really awesome. But first, for the listeners who've not met you during season 2,
Mhm.
can you do a short introduction who you are and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. So, hi, folks. My name is Matthew Kilbane, and I am in the United States of America, located in the Washington, D.C. area. And I work in the areas of AI implementation as well as artificial intelligence governance. So, I collaborate with for-profit, nonprofit institutions, academic institutions, and local governments, right, to advance various AI initiatives and really just utilize artificial intelligence to make society better. Is really what the goal is. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and you actually, yeah, the reason you reached out to me was actually to talk about Project Merit, which you sent
Yes.
over to me. When I looked over it, it sounded really awesome, especially the
Mhm.
initiative itself. So, can you tell a bit more what it is?
Sure, sure. So Project Merit is the brainchild. I had an idea a couple months ago after I went to an artificial intelligence symposium in Baltimore, Maryland, hosted by Morgan State University. And at the symposium, there were various ideas, various applications of artificial intelligence in our society because our technology affects the way we live. And
Mhm.
so, that matriculated and matriculated, and it became Project Merit what it is today. So, Project Merit is essentially a statewide database, right, that's available to every business registered within the state of Maryland.
Mhm.
And what it is an automatic repository for pulse survey information. So traditionally, you had economic pulse surveys that would be sent out by, like, a polling agency like Rasmussen or some state or federal agency, right, to gauge the
Mhm.
state of the economy. Okay, this would be done quarterly, yearly, etc. And then policymakers would utilize that data to formulate policy and economic action. I think we're all kind of familiar with how this process works in government. Well, because of how artificial intelligence is affecting our society, right, and the essentially the stack collapses that are occurring across market sectors, we, being humanity, right, need another way of gathering this information. We need more immediacy, we need more accuracy, and we need greater depth, right? Not just
Mhm.
for you know sector disruptors of technological disruptors like AI, but also for things like tariffs, right, that would affect our economy, changes in taxation rates, right, embargoes, right, trade disputes, all these things that the cycle time between cause and effect on your life greatly diminishes, right, in the
Mhm.
modern age. You know what I mean? I mean, we're not in the age of sale anymore. So
No.
when things happen, right? When tariffs are enacted, by social media post, right? Like that has an immediate effect on the market. So we just needed a new mechanism, right? For, hey, how do we take the economy's temperature, right? And also how do we switch it up, right? Like how do we get the information we need when we need it? So that's Project Merit, and so it is scheduled to go live. It is hosted by Morgan State University Center for Equitable Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Systems, pronounced Seamless.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, let's go.
they're oh yeah, I got to give them a shout out, man. We got some amazing people over there. I mean, highly technically skilled and professional academics in both the business department led by Dr. Sanjay Bapna, and then the IT head over there, Dr. Kofi Nyarko. They are amazing individuals. Very, very, very lucky to work with them. But regardless, and then also there's the Maryland Chamber of Commerce that we partnered with, which I believe
Mhm.
has approximately 3,000 some businesses, as a part of their portfolio that they have direct access to via email mailings and, other data collection methods. And then me representing the Maryland Veterans Chamber of Commerce that represents veteran-owned small businesses all across the state of Maryland. So, in effect, what you have is you have a near real time economic data sensor net for the entire state of Maryland, right? With which we can then take that data and then, process it accordingly, right? Like, hey, how is it,
Mhm.
how are the new tariffs affecting us? How is AI implementation, affecting job numbers in this market sector by business size, and really cut and slice the economy in ways that, we couldn't before, but we can now with artificial intelligence. We just needed to change the input mechanisms. And again, so Project Merit.
Yeah.
So
So
the web portal goes
can I
live
ask, by
and
the
we are
way,
ready.
so is the
Sorry, go
idea,
for it.
oh, yeah. What I wanted to ask is the idea then that also people who are currently like in Maryland that they can also use that data to look like, okay, what's the best job for me to go into right now, depending on the market?
Oh, it's a public good, right? I mean, as soon as the web portal goes live next week, we're just getting the social media stuff set down right now. Like you're really one of the first podcasts that I've been on to talk about it and all that stuff. Yeah, I know, because everything
It
just
is
got
an
locked up this
exclusive.
past
I
week.
love it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and I just wanted to reach out and say, hey, are you interested in speaking about this? So, absolutely. So, it's a public good. We developed this without any sort of expectation of compensation whatsoever, right? This is like, hey, we as a society, we need this, right? Because
Hmm.
because as artificial intelligence proliferates through industries, you see what happens to employment numbers. You see how skill sets need to shift with AI implementation, right? And so this also gives policymakers and regulators at the local, state, and even federal and international level, if they really, if anyone really wanted to use the information, right, an in-depth look at the state of Maryland's various economic sectors, right? So we can look, because in Maryland we have the Port of Baltimore, that's a major shipping port. We
Hmm.
can see immediately what happens with trade embargoes, tariffs through the containerized volume if we get the Port of Baltimore on board and them participating in the program, right? We can also and it really depends on what businesses decide to participate as well, as far as the granularity of info that we're going to have. So, but
Hmm.
no, it's publicly available dashboards, and is meant for regulators and policymakers and business decision makers to have an in-depth view of the Maryland economy and what's happening and how it's responding to various stimuli.
And this would be adaptable also to any other kind of city, for example, in the US, if you
Well,
want.
actually, because it's essentially a giant NoSQL database with a lot of stuff
Hmm.
hung on it, yes, it can scale all the way up to a national level. So if there was enough buy-in and there was enough participation, right? Because there's also a participation here, because this is our society
Hmm.
we're talking about. It's not relationships are not a one-way street. So if there is the level of participation and the level of support, because again, if we scale, that's more compute, that's more storage. We would need financial resources and grants at that point and public support. But yes, you can scale this to the nation, right? And you can match business inputs, right, from their survey responses
Hmm.
to state databases. So you automatically ground within the business data the survey answers of the responses that you had, right? So that then grounds the data, and then you just go through market sector, business size, composition, ownership levels, and you can see the economy and the effects of, again, stimulus on the economy in ways that you never could before with this new near real-time sensing mechanism. But if I could I go into that relationship I talked about?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Great. So how are we getting that information from these businesses? How do we
Yeah,
get
because
all
that
this?
would be my next
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
exactly.
Where's the
So
information coming from?
well, that's where the chambers of commerce come in, right? And that's why,
Hmm.
you need, in order to handle the challenges that are present and are coming in the future, you need all these different actors at the table, because everyone brings their own capability and their own tools, right, to solve these complex problems. And again, that's where the chambers fit. Okay, so the chambers of commerce, right? And again, I also represent the Maryland Veterans Chamber of Commerce as a legislative
Hmm.
director. So that's the network and how I could tie that together. But we have mailing list of our member businesses. Like, we're in regular contact with them via social media and via emails and via marketing campaigns and flyers and pamphlets and events that we do. So yes, the chambers, right, are those economic sensors, right? And so it's those email pulse surveys, right? It's those social media surveys when they come out, and you log into your account and you take it, right? It's that kind
Hmm.
of like business level participation that we need in order to pull this off, right? Because we won't know if the businesses don't tell us. So, and that's the gamble. So if we have just going off normal distributions here, let's do the Pareto principle. If we're able to reach, say, 1,000 businesses, right? Okay, well, 80% of them roughly no response. Okay, so that gives us a 200 business response rate, right? And that at least is something that we can utilize to then again hone our business models and our forecasts and our policy responses. So it at least gives us some insight. But again, it all depends on the participation of the businesses in the state of Maryland, which is why outreach to the chambers of commerce is so vital.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see at least what I see in the future prediction would be that other chambers of commerce would also reach out to help out with this, because I
Well,
think
and
this data could definitely be useful also to predict if people might lose their job because of whatever disaster or
Mhm.
economic change and adapt to that quickly.
Absolutely, yes, and that's why it was built from the ground up, just to be scalable in that regard, right? I mean, we're more than happy to partner with any chamber of commerce or any other social or nonprofit organization,
Hmm.
that would interact with, essentially our economic actors, right? So if there's an organization of nonprofits that has can get that information from all the nonprofit sectors, like that economic pulse data, right? Like, but
Hmm.
again, those are those relationships that need to be built, because in order for our society to function, we have to be able to function together, and again, the robustness of Project Merit is directly proportional to the amount of participation that we have, right? So if we get honest, good faith actors, right, that are willing to participate for essentially in the aggregation of economic information for the good of everyone, right?
Hmm.
So, we create a commons with which to have a tragedy to,
Yeah.
tragedy commons. So if everyone is willing to participate, when the word goes out, when we start the outreach, initiatives, then it's going to be an amazing thing, and we're going to get buy-in, and we can scale to the entire, country. I mean, because one of the things is really that sound and accurate economic data from the United States of America is a vital, foundational plank of the global economy, right? I mean, multi-trillion dollars cycle through the global economy based off of American economic data, right? So say that if there was ever a situation to where, like, I don't know, people that count economic data were prohibited from releasing it, or there were questions
Hmm.
about its veracity because of, political climates, humanity in and of itself would need other vectors with which to get that economic information, and Project Merit could also serve as that as well, right? A ground truth founding on, hey, what's really happening within the Maryland and, hopefully eventually American economy on a ground truth level that, cannot be disputed by someone's opinion. Does that make sense?
No, it definitely does make sense. I think also when I'm thinking like our listeners, like where can they find more information about this project if they're looking into it or want to use the dashboard themselves?
Oh, absolutely. So if you wish to find out more information, it will be Morgan State University they are the technical leads. And of course, you would ask me that. Please make sure to edit this because we just finalized the portal name the other day. And I am going to have to get it back to you because I was actually
Yeah.
not prepared to answer that. Sorry.
No, no problem. No, we can definitely share it in the when we're
Yeah,
spreading
we'll
the
share it in the
episode on
chat.
social media, so that's no problem.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things that should be an obvious data point, but it's one of those also things that as soon as you ask me, it immediately goes out of my brain. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. I've always have it when I'm interviewing engineers and AI experts. Is always like we're doing 100 things, and then it's like, oh, we just don't have that one thing. But that's no
Yeah,
problem. That's a good thing about
yeah, I
a
forgot that one
podcast.
piece of information. Yeah, sorry about that. So yes, but it will be included in the material and on the link,
Yeah,
absolutely, because of course I would forget of this right now at all times. So
yeah. That's
sorry,
what makes
my
this
bad.
pod. That's what makes these podcasts so fun to listen to because it's a live conversation. It's not AI.
Exactly.
It
It's
makes these.
like, yeah, like that thing that I discussed 50 times this past week. Yes, what is the website to that? So, yeah, sorry.
No worries. You don't need to apologize for that.
Okay, that's how the human brain works. That's the only answer I have at this point in time. Other than that, I'm just grasping at straws.
No worries. No, I have the same thing when I like look up AI insights because I used to be in the top three on Spotify, for example, but now
Oh,
I moved
really?
to the top
Oh,
five.
cool. Oh, man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
but
Good job.
specifically this title because there's another podcast which is also called AI Insights, but that one's made by an AI voice. So that one
Oh,
uploads every 3 hours an episode about something new that's happened in AI, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm a human, so I need to sleep.
yeah, right. Yes. So it's like, yeah, you actually have to have that technological assistance to keep on pace with all the developments, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Hmm.
kind of like loses the value of why I started the podcast, which was like a human bringing AI news to other humans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't need AI telling us about itself just quite yet, right? I think we definitely need to keep that human in the loop. But
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, but hey, can I tell you about that other cool thing about that
Yeah.
agentic AI platform?
Yeah, no, exactly. Because it started with you might be speaking in Amsterdam some days soon. So
Yes,
tell
yes,
me
yes.
more.
Okay, so all right, and there's a project merit underlining to all of this, right? Because it all builds
Yeah,
on each other.
it all
So
comes back to merit.
correct, it all comes back to merit, right? Oh, by the way, yeah, hey, Maryland Economic Resilience, Intelligence, and Tracking. That's it, because it's all about economic resilience. So merit,
Hmm.
Maryland Economic Resilience, Intelligence, and Tracking Program. Anyways, so right. So now I'm going to World Summit AI, right, in
Hmm.
Amsterdam the first week of October. I was able to go to the event in San Francisco a few months ago, had an amazing time, met some great people. And on one of those individuals that I met was the head of a nonprofit called AI for ROI, named Terry Jansen. So we began collaborating. He's a professor from Stanford, and this is his project. And he recently just got done fielding a proof of concept for an agentic AI platform for disadvantaged communities in order to engage in entrepreneurship, to better their local living standards, by benefiting their local economy, increasing the velocity of money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he and I got together, and just to show you the adaptability and what we can do in the age of AI if we have the proper networks and proper systems set up, is to now my goal is to get this system, this agentic AI platform, right, that helps with all these small business tasks like inventory management, accounting, social media marketing, right, and for
Hmm.
disadvantaged businesses, and deploy it within the city of Baltimore here in Maryland, right? Thereby giving the disadvantaged communities within the city of Baltimore free access as a public good to this agentic AI platform that can, in theory, help them with the back end business processes for starting their own business, right? So
Hmm.
teaching them how to fish, helping people fish is really what it's about, right? So
Yeah,
if we
helping
can
them
do
set it
that,
up.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, helping them set it up and everything.
Exactly, right, and helping these people run it, right, and taking, like, because imagine, if you have limited resources, you have limited cash, and you want to start a business to to provide more for your family, and to hopefully work yourself out of poverty, right, and pursue
Hmm.
that capitalism ladder, like, but oh no, I need legal advice on this contract, and I got to pay for that, or no, I don't know how to do inventory management, like, and so I'm losing money, but I don't even know I'm losing money, right, and all these little things that come with running a business that no one really teaches you, that you just kind of got to bang your head against a wall again, I mean, because you've started
Yeah.
organizations,
No,
right?
exactly. I mean, I'm doing a
Yeah,
small part, which is community building, but also,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
with this podcast, for example, as well, you don't
Hmm.
know, like when I started, it was just like a Spotify account, you're done. But also, you
Yeah.
need to do the marketing, you need to check the guests, you need to make sure that people are following you, interact with people.
Exactly. And so all those skills that, you had to learn, or, and imagine now if you had less resources than you do now. You didn't have that level of education that you do, right? Like, how do you
Mhm.
lift yourself up? Well, that's where agentic AI comes into play, and that's where the AI for ROI platform comes into play. So it was proof of concept in Africa, went rather well, and we're just looking to again deploy this in the city of Baltimore with grant funding, and then hook it up to Project Merit. So what happens when that occurs? Well, now you have analytics from small and disadvantaged businesses all across an entire city, feeding AI algorithms live information on the economic situation down to the neighborhood in cities. And that's when you can get really creative with, like, hey, let's enact these policies. Okay, we need grant intervention here. All right, we need to increase educational funding on these sectors because this is the skill gap here with what we're seeing. And you can get into all sorts of things, like with how to make people's lives better and crafting responsive policy and responsive action, to essentially help lift entire communities out of poverty at that point. So that's the ultimate dream, right? Is to slice these systems and merge them together. So that way, not only do you have that platform, which is Project Merit, to
Hmm.
engage in the level of analysis, right, that we need in the age of AI, right, to really improve our economies and to see the ground truth of what happens when, these disruptors happen, right? But also now you have the very vehicle with which you can uplift your poorest and most disadvantaged at the same time. So it becomes that self-fulfilling cycle, and it self-reinforces itself that the more people you help through business, the greater analytics you have, and then the better business decisions you're able to make, thereby uplifting the whole community. So that's the overall goal, and that's what I hope to be speaking on at the World Summit AI at the beginning of October.
Yeah.
So those conversations are happening, and knock on all the wood, cross all the fingers, we can make
Fingers
it happen.
crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? So I think it's a good story to tell.
No, exactly. I think it's a great story, especially when like in neighborhoods where usually they feel kind of like left out because
Hmm.
they're like, oh, policymakers are not watching. But this could very much help because a policymaker, all they have to do is, like you explained, just watch on a dashboard. And we're
That's
like,
it.
okay, where do I need to help out? Where do I need to send the
Hmm.
money the city is getting from the government?
Exactly, exactly. Because, if it's one thing that we've learned as humanity, and that's regardless of
Mhm.
our culture, just as humans, is it's very easy for us to lie to ourselves, right? I think that there are
Yeah.
shining examples of that in in the headlines these days, right? About
Mhm.
about the impacts of what happens when you lie to yourself and you don't see the entire picture, right? So this allows this in theory, right, by Project Merit's successful deployment and essentially inculcation into the business practices of small businesses across the state of Maryland, and then by fielding the agentic AI platform, via grants within the city of Baltimore, and then merging the two, would then give, like I said, the entire state of Maryland the ability to lift communities out of poverty en masse, which is the goal.
Yeah, exactly. But also you can look into, like, for example, here in the Netherlands at the time, there was a project done by the local food bank where they
Hmm.
had to check out, okay, are our food banks still in the right location or do we need to move them?
Yeah.
And some of the data showed like a food bank being in the middle of the suburbs and be like, I don't think there are people in the suburbs per se who need help from the food bank and
Hmm.
actually move it to another neighborhood where there was more poverty.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
in the
yeah.
Netherlands, you have the problem that like a bus ticket will cost you like €1 or €2, but the
Hmm.
average person has who's in poverty has €7 to spend per week.
Yeah. So that's a significantly greater proportion of their income.
Exactly. And if
Yeah,
you have the right data, you can help out better.
exactly. Like when business, you would then know like within those areas, hey, when did the local businesses start to struggle? Oh, wait a minute, that was when, 2 days or 2 weeks after this tariff went into effect, and then you could draw that causal analysis, right? So then you could go back and mitigate the effects of
Mhm.
that tariff, right, on that community, thereby mitigating the negative economic effects. 100%. And that, Flora, and that's the beauty of, again, the age of AI, is that we now as humanity will be able to do this, and we'll be able to, for the betterment of our society, reconfigure our society in ways that benefit everyone. And it's going to
Yeah.
happen whether we want it to or not.
No, true. I mean, in the US, there's this I think it was by Google that they now have the idea that they can do weather predictions,
Yes.
where they can actually look into, okay, where do we need to send emergency services depending on where going to be a hurricane or a wildfire.
Correct. And that's responsive policy action. And that is exactly what we're looking to do with Project Merit, right? That responsive policy action to say, hey, if X occurs,
Hmm.
this is the absolute ground truth of the Y economic effect, which equals Z. This is the solution set, right? These are the policy actions that we need
Yeah.
to take, right? And so that's the overall goal, right? And building that public privacy, or in many cases rebuilding that public private partnership, right, between the
Hmm.
private sector businesses, nonprofits, academia, and then local business, local and state level officials, I mean, is in many ways what is actually needed across many domains of our society, right? So it also has a societal benefit as well as, hey, the information that these businesses provide to Project Merit is in a part some way their payment to society for participating in it, right? So it also, helps to be part of that glue that holds us all together as well socially.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it also helps with the democratizing of AI, making sure that it's
Of
available to
course.
everyone who
Of
needs the
course.
information to make their business run more smoothly.
Absolutely. And imagine if you had, say, a I don't know, a public, AI instance, right? A public LLM, right, that was available. I mean, that had these type of capabilities, right? That was available for free to everyone in a country or everyone globally, right? Like, what could you do then as a global society and as a species, right? Once we connect everything together and once we have all these enablers and all the data, essentially the data sensor nets that we're going to need, that in itself is the next step towards Type 1 civilization,
Exactly. And we finally
right?
get on the scale to type 1 because
I
we still
know,
have type 2
finally.
and type 3, but let's start with type 1 because now we're at 0.7 or zero point
Seven,
0.6.
seven,
Yeah,
yeah,
0.7.
yeah.
So we're
So
almost there.
we're almost, and it's there. It's like, and through, again, through the application of AI, like we can get there, right? Like, because
Exactly.
like
Well,
you're helping out with community building with law enforcement now, right? Is that's what you're doing?
yeah, that's what I'm doing right now as a community manager.
Okay,
Um, primarily, which is also really cool to do
all right.
and
Well,
super fun.
can I give you an interesting law enforcement problem that you're going to have?
Oh, sure.
And it's not a good it's a good problem to have, right? And this is a good problem.
Hmm.
So, all right, in a future, I don't think that that's far away when everyone has their own personal AI, right? And everyone's
Hmm.
hooked up via their cell phone and all the vehicles have GPS. In that world, well, why do we need traffic cops? No, and I'm serious. So no, think about it. Think about it. That is an
But the
entire
funny thing
section
is
of
in Japan
policing.
they already have like robot, or was China, one of the two. They have
Exactly.
the robots now doing traffic stops
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Well, not traffic stops, but like
The
arranging
traffic conduct.
traffic.
Yeah. But think about it. I know where you're at. I know the speed you're going. I know if you've broken any traffic laws. If you're the government, you're the overall adjudicating authority there. So, okay, well, how now do we train our police? What goes there? What skills? Digital forensics now? Is that how we're training them? But wait a minute, local municipalities, they relied on these traffic citations for speeding or, other
Mhm.
dangers to help boost their local economy. Well, now that money is gone. So what do the small communities now have to give up because that revenue from those fines violations is no longer there,
No, exactly. I mean, it's
right?
also a
Yeah.
good question because I have another friend who actually does. She's busy with making an algorithm for
Mm-hmm.
not robotic cars, self-driving
Yeah.
cars. Well, there's also a question, if we have self-driving cars, then they know the max speed limit, they probably won't override it.
Exactly. Exactly. But
So,
then if we have self-driving cars, then there's no more taxi drivers, there's no more truck drivers, there's no more the entire profession of driving in and of itself has now gone the same way as the farrier or the cooper or the barrel
mhm.
maker. It's
No,
gone.
exactly. But
Yeah.
so those jobs will probably change as well to maybe
Correct.
I will always say there probably will be a manager in between the
Mm-hmm.
one who's like managing all the self-driving cars in the city,
Yeah. Exactly.
and reporting to HQ to let them know like everything's going great or we need to fix a few cars.
Yeah. But
But
that
these are
manager.
Yeah, but these are all kind of things that
Yeah.
situations where you do want to look into that it doesn't become into a big brother situation at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Correct. Correct. Which is where
So
Europe leads the way, and which is why Europe is
exactly,
so important to the future. Absolutely.
exactly, because in Europe it's very much important that privacy remains a key. That
Mm-hmm.
people, because people here do have a right to their own privacy, so it needs to make sure that the data is not misused or anything, and that it also, if people don't want to share it, that it's not being shared
Oh, the
unless you have a
European
warrant.
Union. Oh, absolutely. Well, the European Union has, in and of itself, done an amazing job of establishing itself as the ethical and regulatory leader for AI development. So, because remember, artificial intelligence still needs to be adopted. Like you can
Hmm.
have the coolest toy ever, But if no one wants to play with it because they don't trust you, then they're not going to play with it. So if you are in a developing country and you have the choice between a Chinese AI, an American AI, or a European AI, what is safer for you to utilize?
European.
Exactly. So you're laughing, but I mean, trust is the
No, but it is
foundational
true.
concept of relationships.
Yeah, no, but it is true. I do see
Yeah.
the same thing as with the United Nations that just came out with their own AI
Hmm.
regulation.
Yep. Correct.
Uh, but the joke that I actually make was that in Europe we already know what works and doesn't work, and they're still gonna have to figure it out because it's great that they have a board and everything,
Hmm.
but the enactment power of it is the question: will that work? Because we already in Europe we already have the European AI Act that we worked with 10 years on to make it happen,
Oh yeah, I know. I
and that we're
contributed to
now
it.
implementing
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's a great piece of legislation. I mean, does it have its issues? Yes, but
Absolutely.
look, absolutely. But look, this is the thing. Okay, one, you're never going to get it right on the first shot, right? Like that's why we're human. We iterate, we improve. Like that's what law is about, right? Crafting responsive policy. So of course it's going to go through iterations, and no law is going to get everything right the first time you implement it. That's just not how reality works. But Europe has done an amazing job of again establishing that foundation for trustworthy and ethical AI. That I mean, you really as an organization, the EU is going to have like the gold seal of approval, right? So it doesn't matter. I think in the future, right? If yes, if you're resource constrained, poverty stricken, et cetera, you'll use whatever you can use, right? But when it comes time to you hit a level of economic prosperity that you have a choice, you're going to go with European AI. And that's how Europe moves ahead in the future and then creates its own market, right? And then that's the market that you dominate. Additionally, any standards that you set, I mean, right now at this point in time, any standards that Europe sets are going to be the de facto AI standards moving forward for humanity, because that's how far ahead of the game the European Union is. To where you literally can, the European Union may not have the best technology, right, or the massive scale of China, but it still has the ethical leadership that people look to and trust, and then therefore gets to write the rules of the game that the others will play. Make sense?
Yeah, no, no, it definitely makes sense. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I know myself that indeed when I'm like in other countries outside of the
Mhm.
European Union, I'm always very doubtful of like pressing accept when they say accept my cookies.
Right. It's
And
like
in Europe,
who's
I'm like,
speaking? Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and in Europe at least, I know that well, most of my data won't. If I press I don't want it, that's also an okay answer, and the app doesn't stop working.
Correct. Correct. I mean, well, look at what happened with Microsoft recently. I mean, they lost the contract with a whole country. I believe it was it Denmark? I believe that the entire country's moving away from Microsoft
Yeah,
products because you can't trust that if you work with Microsoft as another nation, that the United States isn't going to essentially say, Microsoft, give us all that data, and then your entire country's administrative system is compromised, right? Like that's what we're talking about when we talk about the impacts of trust. Is trillion-dollar companies are losing access to multi-billion-dollar markets because of the trust, and you just can't trust American AI companies right now because of the political climate. So there you go, and that allows the EU to step in as that arbiter, and which again is your ultimate competitive advantage. So it's very well done on EU's part.
exactly. No, but I also really love about Europe was that they just like kind of like puts it like sunglasses and be like, oh, you don't trust them? You can come to us. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a great in our economic situation as well, or economic AI
Hmm.
technology right now.
Oh yeah.
It's upcoming, especially when it comes to startup and scale ups. But those that are, like you said, they are already working with AI regulations. So once they go global, they won't have any problem because they're coming from the
Baked in.
market that there's possibly there. So they will be compliant everywhere.
Exactly. And so then when you comply, so when you combine European Union artificial intelligence instances with the Chinese robotics capabilities, that's that EU China leading the way into the future, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Thank you so much for sharing, by the way, your project about merit
Of
and also
course.
having this little discussion with me as well. I
Yeah,
really loved
I
it.
love AI. Yeah.
We can go for hours, but unfortunately,
Mhm.
we're already over the 30-minute mark.
Oh,
So
I'm so sorry.
no, 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 it's no worries. That's one good thing about podcast. You can go on forever, but I always have like a 30-minute mark. So thank you so much for sharing Project Merit and talking more about it. Everyone else, thanks so much for listening.
Yes. And the
And
link will be in the description when this publishes, I promise. Again, I apologize for the complete and total brain wipe that just occurred as soon as I was asked the question of, what's the web address? So, yeah, of course.
no worries. Everyone else, thanks so much for listening. This was
All right.
episode 2. Really looking forward to episode 3. So keep listening. Follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And we'll get back to you later.
All right.
So,
Have a great one, folks.
bye bye.